So let's talk about something that I don't usually talk about, and that is that I'm turning 30 in a couple of weeks. In fact, I've kept it a secret for many years in business. Now, in this video, I'm going to cover why and what I've learned in my journey being an entrepreneur throughout my 20s. So I started out truly as a kidpreneur. When I was 6 years old, my brother and I were walking up and down our street in the suburb that we lived in Western Sydney, and we were stealing these little rocks from someone's feature letterbox and smashing them on the pavement, and we used to sell them to our other neighbours. That's literally where I started when I was 6 years old. Throughout high school, I was selling burnt CDs and porn magazines to kids who were too young to buy them, and all kinds of illegitimate businesses. Ticket scalping was included in there as well, but then eventually I decided to start a legitimate business, and at 15 I started helping people out with their computers, and I was earning good money from that. And as I continued that through high school, I pretty much decided after the end of high school finished that I'd go straight into business, and that's kind of been my journey so far. I did do some work for one of my clients for a year, which was in a small business. But after then, when I was 20, I launched what then became IT Genius, and for the last 10 years, that's what I've been doing. Now, starting your business in your early 20s is pretty tough. For me, I had just turned 20 years old. I'd just finished high school. I didn't have any university education or any other formal education or training in business, apart from having run my own kind of side gig in high school from when I was 15. I learned kind of the basics, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And so I was forced to work things out myself. I had to kind of learn it the hard way, as they say. And of course, I relied on mentors and coaching programs and books and online articles and all of those kind of things. But for the most part, I would take a problem and I would find out my own solution to that problem. And I think that's one of the real strengths of Gen Y, and especially Gen Y entrepreneurs, is looking at a problem with a fresh approach. Because I hadn't worked for somebody else, because I hadn't gone through years of university, a business degree or anything like that, because I hadn't been indoctrinated with a certain way of doing business, well, I had to do things my own way. And I think that's been quite an advantage for me and for us as a business. I've been lucky enough to be featured in the Hot Entrepreneurs Under 30, I think 4 or maybe even 5 times, and that was a real great honor. It was awesome to be represented in the Logies for business owners, because basically there's no real other awards that you get being an entrepreneur. The easiest way to get featured into the media, and yes, also to get featured in awards programs, is to actually put yourself out there and submit to them. It was only because I built relationships with journalists. We were visible and easily digestible by those who were writing in the media, and of course we had good things to say and we were ambitious in saying them, that we were picked up in these publications and actually featured. So if you're wondering, wow, how do these businesses, my competitors or someone who's not me, how are they winning those awards? Are they really 10 times more amazing than me because some magazine or online publication has named them #1 in the country or whatever? That's really a little bit irrelevant. What actually matters is getting your word out there for the business services that you provide or the products that you sell. And to do that, PR and media is an absolutely essential part. It's been a big driver of our business, and it's not that hard to be a part of it. Putting yourself out there and not only building relationships, but also contributing information, articles, and updates to those media publications is going to be something that helps you build that relationship and be more likely to be chosen to be featured when there are opportunities to feature businesses.